Hey, I didn't see you there, but I did see that turret camera. While I have you, tonight we're gonna be talking about the 5 major types of cameras that people put on their facilities. So come along, let's get right into it.
Okay, let's do some pound.
Yeah.
This is the Security Bros, Ken, James, welcome. Today we're talking about these security cams.
Specifically form factors.
Totally, dude. Form factor, that's what it's all about, man. You want to get down with the right form factor for your facility. Now we've found...
You mondo?
Don't worry, man, you're a catch. You've got good hair, a sweet face, a great personality.
In most cases, we use a turret camera. My preference is a dome camera.
What?
Because a dome camera has the ability to be vandal resistant.
Oh, I see where
so
you're
it can
going
take a
with this.
beating, you know, it can even take some spray paint or something and maybe change out that dome piece. The problem is that they are horrible for night vision because that lens, or even during the day, because that lens gets a little bit of dirt on it on the outside, and the infrared lights, they ping off that dirt right back into the lens. Looks horrible. What good is a camera if it can't see anything? So
Exactly.
We finally made the cut to go with the turret, which is why James says it's our favorite. It's still metal, it's still heavy duty, it's still gonna be able to take a hit maybe from the side top, everything. It's just that that lens portion isn't quite as protected.
A dome camera is typically, has a round base, and then there's a dome cover, which Ken just mentioned, that it uses security screws to, cover. And then there's a seal around there to keep everything waterproof. Something I've actually noticed about dome cameras too, if they're outside, that seal can sometimes have problems after a while. And then you end up with water inside the dome. A lot of times the cameras will still work if there's water in there, but to a certain point, because after that corrosion takes place, everything just kind of goes. So that is one issue. So domes, round base, all the internals there, and covered with a vandal resistant cap. Turret cameras, similar concept, except the camera workings are inside a movable metal enclosure. You kind of just move the whole camera in that metal housing around. But the kind of downside that you were mentioning with a turret camera is that if somebody could get to it, they could technically move that camera around and point it into a different direction. So that could be a problem.
Yeah, so far I would say the upsides of the turret have far outweighed the downside because once again, for a long time, I was very kind of preferable towards the dome.
You were anti-turret for quite a while.
I was anti-turret. Well, a lot of them didn't even used to look very good. They looked a little silly. The new ones, the ones we work with, well, they look good. They're much more aesthetically pleasing. They are still heavy duty. They have a really great image, and their night vision is just clear as day with just a small amount of ambient lighting. It doesn't take too much. You have a little bit of, especially yellow light, bam, looks great.
I think what finally sold Ken is I think I won him over by the night vision comparison. So with the dome camera, like Ken said, that dome, it's typically made out of some sort of plastic material, and it can either get spider webs or scratches or just dirt, plastic, in the sun all day long can get.
Even rain, when it's done, it leaves a residue.
Yeah, the rain too.
Yeah.
So just there's various stuff just smudges up the dome, and then because it has those infrared lights inside trying to shine through the dome, all that smudge on the dome reflects that infrared light right back into the camera, and then you can't see anything. But with a turret camera, you don't have anything covering it, and the infrared lights are shining through a different lens on the front. So there's zero issues with the night vision, which is fantastic. So you never have any problems with that.
Right, okay, so you have dome, you no longer use that. We have the turret, which is what we actually use. You also have something that for some reason is very popular, is the bullet.
Hey, Ma, guess where I am? Yeah, can you hear it? Flying through the air.
Yeah, I don't
camera.
get the bullet
It kind of
cap.
looks
Yeah.
like the shape of a soda can.
just
Actually, it looks
a-
like
it's
the
just-
shape of that can.
it's just
if
a
you
rectangular
pull it
box.
into the video.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of
it
like
looks-
this. I'm going to spill this, but yeah, if you tilt it
Yeah,
sideways.
if you imagine that's what
Yeah.
the camera looks like. It's
Yep.
just a tube.
ain't
They're super
right.
easy to aim, I guess.
It's like a rectangle. Yeah.
because they're just on like a little swivel, and you can point them where you want. You tighten the little screw in the back.
I was going to say the
and
opposite.
there you go.
They're like really hard to aim.
I don't know.
This
A lot
was
of people
horrible.
use them.
Yeah,
I
they
see
do.
them all
I-
over. A lot of the really cheap systems
Yeah.
are made from that style. I just don't like using. I wouldn't like using them even if they had higher quality.
They're also like really
because
big. They just stick out on the side of a building.
That's another
too.
problem. They stick out too far from the building,
Yeah.
and so if you really need to see tighter, like a lot of times you're installing something
Well, not
near
out-
the corner,
yeah.
and there might be a door like a few feet away,
Right.
and what you're trying to see is the whole side of the building. Plus, you want to see in front of the door.
Yeah.
You want the camera as tight to the building as possible, not farther away from the building, because you want to be able to see out and you want to see the door, which is one reason why the turret is way better, or even a dome. But the bullet, which just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, and then you're
Yeah.
like trying to get it turned enough to see.
I was going to say it also, a lot of times they'll be about a foot long. Like you said, it might not be far out this way, but it'll stick like past the doorway. So you can't turn it down enough to even see the door. Yeah.
So those are your three, let's say, standard type of camera,
Yeah.
wide angle. Those can also come in what we call a varifocal lens. This doesn't change the form factor or the size. It just means that now you have an adjustment so that instead of it being wide angle, it's actually zoomed in. Typically, you would see this in, let's say, a bank. You might have one watching each teller, and they might get a varifocal to zoom in on something very specific.
What sets us apart from other banks is that other banks are banks.
Some banks have a very specific protocol saying we want to see
Yeah, like
very
a 2 foot by 2 foot section right in front of the teller station.
Yeah, because they want to get like a really
Good
close
face
up on the face or something. And that was honestly a lot more important back when cameras weren't as high definition. Now that you have cameras that are so high definition, to me that seems unnecessary. Some people will still spend a lot of extra money because those cameras cost more money. So, and then the problem I have with them is that over time, if that actually ever starts to shift, then
You go out
that
of focus.
it goes out of focus, because a lot of times they're not autofocus. You zoom it, and then you have another thing you do for the focus part. Anyway, so I'm not a huge fan of that. It increases the cost, and it adds more complexity to the camera. But each of those three kind of cameras can have a varifocal option.
We kind of just go with fixed lens.
It's a fixed lens, keep it really high definition. We go with 4K, wide angle, pretty much covers all the bases, because after the fact, you can kind of zoom in and still see pretty good, which is great because now you have the benefit of both being wide angle and you can zoom in if you need to.
Let's talk about panoramic. So a panoramic camera will fit into two categories. You got like a 180 degree, so boop. And then you got a 360, which is of course, it sees all the way around. And they come in a little bit different flavors. So you can either have a single sensor or you can have a what's called a multi-sensor camera, which for say like 180 degree panoramic, a common thing will be to have like 4 sensors. These are really cool. You know,
Basically 4 cameras into one. They take
Right.
4 individual, literally if you look inside the camera, it's going to be 4 cameras
Yep.
and 1 housing.
it's
And then it just stitches
4
them together.
cameras stitched together by software. So when you look at it, it looks like one camera.
And so what you'll do is you'll stick it on a wall and it'll literally see all the way from this side all the way over to that side of the wall.
I don't know if you have like a very flat-faced building with a parking lot that you kind of want to cover. They're good for that. We tend to steer away from them simply because you can get the same coverage by putting 2 cameras, one on each side of a building and crisscrossing. So you get the same coverage, and typically it'll be like half the cost to
Yeah,
put
those
2
are
cameras
extremely expensive
versus one of these panoramic cameras, because the panoramic cameras are very expensive.
for some reason.
Yeah,
Maybe because it's literally 4 cameras in one.
probably.
It doesn't cost them that much to make the housing, but they're still providing you with the 4 chips, the 4 lenses.
With like a panoramic camera, they may advertise that you're getting a 4K camera. Sounds great, right? But that's 4K or 8 megapixel divided 4 ways. So you're actually getting 4 1080p cameras spread across. So by our method of putting 2 4K cameras crisscrossing, you're actually getting higher resolution at a cheaper price. So it's a better solution.
The number of times that's actually the best kind of camera to use is
It's kind of small.
pretty small niche. It's just the people that usually use it is just they've been talked into it, or they're convinced like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the best way to go. I'm saving money. Even if they're not saving money, they're still convinced, no, because I'm only putting in one camera, I must be saving something by doing one. Right. It's like, no, you're still spending more money. The funny thing is that those are still more expensive. 180 degree is actually more expensive than a 360 degree. Some people think it's like the ultimate camera because it sees all the way around. It's good for very specific cases, right? You'll see them a lot more in something like convenience store, where you're trying to like one camera to like look down and see everything going on with like people moving around the store. The nice thing about that, you can, as an overview, you can get a good clear picture of like what happened, who was moving where and who took what. Let's talk PTZ cams. A lot of people think that PTZ cameras are the most ultimate like ninja camera, where it covers all the bases because it has this like motor where it can like zoom in, it can also like move around, and so it can see anything. It can get close, it can get far away, which is true. Something a lot of people don't think about is the fact that in order for it to do any of that, it has to be manned in real time. So unless you have a security guard that's actually operating that camera and zooming in to see that license plate or sees something suspicious and moves it around, it's not going to do that. Basically, you're only recording whatever that happened to be pointed at. So if it was like sitting zoomed into that tree over there, that's what you're recording. A PTZ camera is only good if you have someone there watching it in real time. That's why it's great for something like a Walmart parking lot, where they have a security guard sitting there watching it and watching the parking lot, because parking lots are huge. And so it gives them the option of like optically zooming in like 20x, where a normal camera would not see that. So in some specific scenarios, it's a great camera. In most cases, it's a horrible camera because it has motors and lots of moving parts. It's very expensive, and so it's more prone to breaking down, which means you're gonna have to replace it more, and it's more expensive. So you're replacing an expensive camera potentially more often.
You can set up PTZ cameras with software. You can have them track certain things. So say you have the entrance to a parking lot and you wanna track certain vehicles coming in. So basically you can set up the camera to, pan over here, catch a vehicle, and it'll track that vehicle going wherever. It's only recording what the camera is pointing at as it's tracking, right? So say one car goes by here, but there's another car over here. It's not tracking that car either. PTZ cameras, in my opinion as well, are really only good if you have a manned person there and it's a layer on top of other fixed lens cameras that you have throughout your property. So you can use the PTZ to kind of zoom in on certain things that are happening over a wide area.
Well, and what you mentioned with the auto tracking, if you have two cars, it just zooms out as much as possible.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
In which case, it's basically a regular camera. Right. Or if you put it in inside or outside and you're tracking a person, this is what you'll see in marketing videos for these. It's like, look at our special tracking feature. There's the burglar breaking in, watching this one person, as if you're only ever going to have one person breaking into your car dealership or your jewelry store.
Let me just do a quick little recap of what we covered. You have roughly 5 general styles of cameras. You have domes, bullets, turrets, panoramics, and PTZs. Domes are great options, probably more so indoor. They are vandal resistant, but they're susceptible to scratches and dirt, causing the infrared at night to reflect off of the dome. Bullets, they're just long, a little harder to angle. So that's fun. And then you have turrets, which we find to be the best option. Then you have panoramics, which are a little more niche, but they can cover a wide area, but may also have a lower resolution. And then you have PTZs, which are also another bit of a niche camera, and those are better used by a manned security guard situation.
Yeah, or a woman. It doesn't have to be
It could be a woman too. So if you enjoyed this video, like it so we know, and share it so your friends know. Bye.
Today we're discussing, no, we're not discussing.
What are you doing?
I'm so excited about tonight's episode, dude, because we're broing it up here with some security cams, okay? And we like to smash some surveillance. So we're just keeping it totally broskies here.
You're too thug with it, man.
Eudaimonic happiness will lead to your highest human good, especially in the totality of your life. I think that is so powerful.
Well, The thing is, you want to make sure you're unburdened by what is, so you can be unburdened by what has been.